Hey world, so for the last 8 months, I, along with the rest of the world, I think, have been interested in, fascinated by, but also a little bit confused by Occupy Wall Street. So, being that I'm now living in New York City, I decided last Friday to go down to Union Square and see what all the fuss was about. I just kind of walked around, started talking to occupiers. I was like, hey, are you with Occupy Wall Street? And they're like, yeah. I was like, you want to do an interview? And some of them would be like, nah, I'm not really comfortable on camera. But then I'd be like, yeah, so can you point me in the direction of someone who might want to do an interview? And then they did. So I got 3 interviews, and I think they went pretty well. I found them to be interesting. I learned a lot about the movement through it. So I've cut together those interviews, and hopefully it's entertaining, engaging, and most of all, informative. It's as formative for you as it is for me, hopefully. So here it is. Hope you like it.
Occupy Wall Street is a call to action at its core. It's 3 words. It's the only 3 words our entire community or movement agrees on. Occupy Wall Street at its core is a brand. It's a system of tools. It's a movement. The thing is, it's a modular set of tools that are based on open source that we built over about a month's time, and it's become many things, but at its core is the original ideas that you should show up in a park, you talk to people that you might have something in common with, and you go from there.
We started out in Egypt, we started out in Greece.
Well, isn't that fundamentally different though? Because they were living under like oppressive regimes?
What makes you think we are?
Well, that's just it. I mean, so
I believe the people in Iraq might feel a certain way about us, you know, in Afghanistan.
So I went down in October and I kind of got stuck and didn't leave. I met a lot of cool people with, a lot of different viewpoints, which I think is why Occupy is so scattered. But while a lot of people think that's a problem, I think it's a great thing. You can't have a group of people, a large group of people, with the same idea. You're going to have a lot of scattered viewpoints, and that's what makes it so diverse, but also that's great. I mean...
Would you say that there's a common thread that connects all of it, though?
Just kind of the community, I guess. Everybody wants something to change.
Why I'm occupying is a big question I'll get to in a second. First, though, I want to give a shout out to Officer Ristano for his trash can incident the other night, where he was throwing pieces of garbage to protesters that were laying, or most likely just standing at the platform right here at this station.
What, you said he was
throwing
physically
garbage? Throwing garbage.
Was he provoked at all?
No,
anyway?
Just throwing garbage.
Well, so I guess that's a good place to start. What do you think about the police response to Occupy? Like, do they have a place here? Is there a reason for them to be here at all?
There's no reason for them to really be here in the number that they're in.
Sure, okay.
I mean, it's ridiculous that, so many schools are closing down in New York City itself, but they have enough money to have about 30 cops a day have overtime to babysit a park of peaceful protesters.
Just like with Occupy, I say, you have to be able to see the forest for every single tree in it. You can't make a generalization of a group. And that's what I'm trying not to do with the NYPD. But I was arrested at this park for drumming a couple weekends ago and spent a whole weekend in bookings for drumming.
Had they told you to stop drumming? Had they given you warning? Or
well, they said to quiet down because there was some noise complaints, residential complaints. And the Parks Department said we had to stop at 10 p.m. and around 8:45 p.m.
Residential complaints. If you look around here, this is all businesses.
Yeah, these are all businesses, but I think there's some residents down the block. And but there's a cop behind me around 8:45, and he said, "All right, I'm getting sick and tired of this bullshit." Grabbed me up off the ground where I was just tapping my drumsticks.
He literally said that, or that's just what you inferred from his actions?
No, that's what he said.
Oh wow, okay.
Grabbed me up off the ground, put me in cuffs, and threw me in the back of a van.
The way Occupy works is that a group of people come together in an area that hasn't had an occupation before, and they take over a public space, and they go through certain patterns that we went through. Our model gets repeated every time someone sets up an Occupy. You set up a zone where people can come and hang out. It's sort of like a Woodstock, no rules, and then the rules start getting put in. You're occupying outside of the system at first, and the system starts interacting with you, and then eventually all occupations are evicted. We call it evict knock. You're not a real Occupy until your community's lost what you've built together.
And is that because then you kind of realize what's wrong with the system, that you had something that was pure and beautiful?
It happened. There's lots of explanations of why it works. First, it gives a community a shared experience of loss. It's a solidarity building event. Oh my God, look what happened to me. It becomes personal when they take your park.
I mean, we used to get tons of coverage, but it was us against the police officers.
Right.
It was occupiers versus those police officers, and who's going to win the fight. But the thing was, that really wasn't a fight. That was a smokescreen. That wasn't our enemy. We don't hate the police officers. Some of us do. Don't get me wrong. But that isn't our fight. We're not here to fight against the same people who are going to be in the same boat as we are. Their pension could be up in 15 years.
Everybody in Occupy has a court date next month.
Are you serious?
Oh, I'm so serious.
Like just from all the tickets they've gotten, or?
Yeah, when they got raided, when we first got raided in Zuccotti, and then the second time we got raided on St. Patty's Day, like all those court dates added up, and half of us are going to be in court in June. So.
And what do you think's going to happen?
Well, usually what happens is they drop the charges. Every time I've got arrested, they've dropped the charges. So it's not that the judge is like, oh, they're Occupy, we're going to convict you. It's like, oh, another Occupy arrest.
So they're kind of fed up with it too.
I'm sure they're getting sick and tired of seeing our faces. I'm pretty sure they are.
So how does the vicious cycle end?
I don't see an end anytime soon.
If the most important thing to you is getting that iPod 4 or iPod 5 or iPod 6 or PlayStation 7 or whatever the hell you want to get, that's one thing. But to make that your life goal and you're going to strive hard to get it, I mean, there's far more important things you should be thriving for, especially in this world. We're so close. We're at the precipice. We're pretty much right there at the precipice, at a changing point. This is the catalyst. Now, whether or not it can continue growing is one thing, but this is not a movement that's going to end. Even if it dwindles down to a very few number, they're still going to have, people can still have this in their heart.
I mean, a lot of the core of Occupy looks a lot like a monastic order. You drop everything in your life, you drop all your personal belongings, and you start looking at how to give back. In Indian culture, they call it taking sannyas. You let go of all your worldly possessions, and in theory, you get them all back. In Occupiers, we see that. Like that donation jar, our job is to spend that as quickly as possible because more comes. But when we try to hoard it and hide it or conserve it, the flow stops happening. It's the core of Occupy. We're a spiritual movement that's part political, part activist. It's so many different things, but it's so simple. It's just occupy your life. Stop looking to other people for leadership. You know the answers. You're just as smart as anybody else. But people, because of our commodification of culture and just the way our culture is set up, we're always looking for someone to lead us.
I liked Obama when he was running. I did. And I don't know, I feel like he's kind of more of a puppet. He says a lot of things. He says he wants change, and I understand that you're not going to change a country in the time that you're president. I get that, but you could still try to make some differences. And he kind of disappointed me, but I guess you can't have too high of expectations.
We wanted to bring your attention to the fact that we're stuck in a binary political system. What does that tell us? What's the solution? Stand in the middle. Let everyone else run around. That's what Occupy is. We're not left, we're not right. We're not middle.
We're just people who want to talk about it.
We're occupiers. But if you ask us, there's libertarians, there's Republicans here, but we know we can't lead with that. It's like the whole thing, who's Occupy gonna vote for? We're all gonna fucking vote for Obama. I mean, come on. But we're not. If we came out and said that, people would misunderstand us.
What would they misunderstand?
Who you vote for is the most personal thing you could ever do. And in our culture today, we make it the defining thing of who you are.
There's so many things that he's turned his back on. There's so many ideals that he turned his back on. And, I mean, you want to start changing things, start changing things. At least ruffle some feathers. He's playing it so passive,
Do you think he'll play less passive if and when he gets reelected?
Not sure, because then you have to wonder if he's going to be working so his party gets the next nomination. I mean,
it's just a continuation.
It's a continuation. It's a game. We are sick of these games.
The revolution happened 20 years ago. It's all this equipment that we use, the social media. What Occupy Wall Street is suggesting is a paradigm shift. You know, we're not going to change the world by changing the structures. We have to change the minds and hearts of individuals one-on-one. And the only way to do it is through this direct engagement on these revolutionary tools.
You like it? I hope you liked it. I'm curious to know what, if anything, you learned from this piece that you didn't know beforehand. So leave a comment if you learned anything, and also leave a comment if there's something about Occupy Wall Street that you still don't know and you would like to know. Because you know, I'm still in the city. I can go back anytime. I can do this again. Maybe. I might not. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. But anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching. Bye.